Okay, the big green button has become the big red button.
And we're recording now. We're on the third episode and the very first recording of 2025. We have Isaac.
Hello.
Producer Pat.
Hello.
And Faith.
Hey, hey.
And this is me, Avantika. So initially we decided we'll talk about a different topic to start the new year on a positive note. But as soon as I heard about the $1 billion lottery winner, I thought there would be nothing more appropriate than discussing anonymity and all the other factors that give you access to anonymity or give you access to controlling the consequences for your actions. I will go first why I chose this topic to start the year off with. So around October, I was on a anonymous depression chat, and it'll be another time and maybe at a later time I'll be more comfortable discussing why I was there. But I had a chat with this most incredible person. I know nothing about them except for the fact that they were old, ailing, and unable to support themselves. And the only thing they wanted was the option of euthanasia. And it was one of the most profound conversations I've had with anyone. And there were 3 key realizations that came to me within 20 minutes of that chat. The first one to me was of complete relief that I am not depressed. This is what true depression looks like. This is what someone's going through. For me, I was able to identify that the issues I have are problems, and problems can be resolved, or they're temporary enough that they don't hold the same consequence or value 2 months, 3 months down the line. The second realization was that of empathy, that, I would have made the exact same choices if I was in that person's shoes. But I did tell them one thing. The one thing that I would do differently was make sure that I reach out to people who've been a part of my life and give them the opportunity to connect with me, communicate with me, and make sure that we all have our closure in whatever sense we possibly can. And the third and the most important realization, which made me think that this would be a worthy topic for a podcast, was genuine connections, genuine human connections. When there's no fear of consequences. This person shared with me that they're from New Brunswick, Canada, and their fondest memories are that of Fundy Isles. And that's where they want to, end their life, by the beach. If somebody would have told me about Fundy Beach and the Isles, it would be maybe something that, if I was in New Brunswick, I would consider going there, visiting and being like, wow, awesome. But now I feel this urge and a calling. It's almost like a pilgrimage now. If I mean, it's not an if anymore. I know I have to go there. I need to be there. And that realization of, coming from such a short conversation and it being so impactful, and even though it was such an unedited conversation, it was just so direct in the way it was conveyed to me and so candid that it still lives with me. And I still wonder, if that person actually went through with their actions, or did they take my advice and are they connecting with the people they like? So I wanted to, discuss the good that people do when they have anonymity, because right now everyone talks about the negativity and the hatred that's perpetuated just because anyone can have a social media account. So if...
No, that was beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing this with us. It's a very intimate moment that
Very intimate.
I'm glad that you brought to us, because it really does open the idea of anonymity and how it can affect us positively. I'm rephrasing kind of what you're saying here, but yeah, if you think about media culture, and the first thing that a lot of people feel to do is, I don't know if you want to call it catharsis, but they're thinking, oh, most likely I'm upset because of X, Y, and Z. I want to put that out into the world, but I don't want it to be attached to me. So I'm going to be a gremlin and troll people online. I'm going to say how I feel and just be ruthless because it's not attached. But what we don't talk about are those moments where people choose to be kind, choose to be good, choose to help one another and not have anything attached to it.
I think the most unique thing about this experience for me was that when that person started chatting with me, they didn't know how I was going to react to it. And I have never, I've had the privilege to not have to make that call for anyone, to not have to be in that responsible situation where, you're told that, hey, only thing holding someone together is life support and you're the next of kin and you need to make that call. So it was a completely new experience for me, and it was, on the surface, it warrants to be something really sad and sort of an ending, but it felt more like a start of a friendship. You don't expect it to come out of these moments. Why would you even choose to be attached to someone who's conveying to you that they've decided to let go of everything within a matter of days? That to me was, really the bizarrest human experience I've had.
Well, I have a bit of I don't even know if it's a controversial take, but it's one that's heavily debated. I always inherently feel that people are born good. I also have a feeling that people are born with these desires to have human connection and always thrive for that. But I think that the reason why people turn against it is because they've been hurt, because they do care. So look at even this person in their last moments, their last ditch effort. What do? Do they choose to make the ultimate end to all means? No, they choose to reach out. Why were they on this, depression chat? Because they yearned for that connection. And even in those moments of saying, I'm alone, I have nothing, I have no other desires, I choose not to reach out to anybody, they still are opting for that connection, even if by a total stranger. And I think that's what has been driving us as people, but continues to even in this virtual world. I know now there are AI is a big topic. There's a lot of AI things out there, but I get advertisements now for like Snapchat AI friend you can talk to. You can, make an account on this other site and have like a fake boyfriend or girlfriend who checks on you. And you wonder why those exist. And it's because of our yearning to connect, but also the anonymity of this is just a computer. This person can't judge me. This person won't tell things about me to other people. And I think that that's why, I don't know, anonymity comes from kindness sometimes, because
I think kindness comes from anonymity.
The reverse of it too. But I mean, I don't know, have we found ourselves reaching out for positive reasons, knowing that you might not have your name tied to it? Has anyone ever done something for someone knowing, they're not going to know that I did this, like, paying it forward in the line for food? Has anyone ever, liked someone's content on social media that you don't know because they have fewer likes? I mean, I don't know. Has anyone here done
pity
something?
Likes.
Yeah. Pity likes. I was thinking of it nicer than that, but no, I mean, I'm sure we've all had a moment too where we've done something knowing that there was no way it's able to trace back to us, but for a good reason. I mean, anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had experiences where I've been on a similar kind of chat and responded to somebody who was having a really, really bad time, and it was something that I could kind of speak to because I'd been through a similar experience. And yeah, I mean, like, it was, I definitely like don't want the world at large to know about me necessarily, but in the form of, being an anonymous member of that chat, it was nice to be able to, offer some kind of words of encouragement, or, I don't know if it actually was encouraging or whether it helped or made it worse, but, it was nice to be able to engage on that front.
Is everyone here familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Any other psychology nerds here? Anybody?
The concept, it rings a bell. I think I heard about it because I took psychology in college, but that was kind of a while ago.
So to explain to anyone listening or to my friends here, if you're not familiar, it's really interesting. Imagine, if you will, a triangle in front of you, and it's sliced into different horizontal stripes. And from the bottom up, it goes through the needs that we need the most. And as we get them, we move up the pyramid, triangle in this case, and you are more fulfilled. So, for example, base bottom of the pyramid is like shelter and food, like ways to live. But as you creep up to the top of it, you get things like, social acceptance. That's a little bit higher up. And at the very tippy top of the pyramid is self-actualization. Yeah. And so, of course, the things you need dire are food, shelter, safety. And from there, it turns into how it makes you more comfortable physically, like more clothes or getting to know people that are kind to you. And then the very top is self-fulfillment. And the reason I bring this up is I've noticed a trend of people who are on said anonymous chats are often not in a completeness of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that's not a bad thing, but the people who need it the most are there. There are people out there who are self-actualized. There are people out there who have felt completeness, but they don't go onto those forums because they don't need it. So in reality, the people who may have the best words of advice, those who have gone through troubles and feel secure, aren't reflecting and going back to these forums and these chats to help these people. So you end up with a bunch of people who are in similar circumstance in a chat, but someone who needs uplifting, sometimes if you have someone who also needs uplifting, it's going to be a battle of but I need it more. So yeah. I come to ponder, ways that people who feel comfortable and confident can go out and assist those who do. And we do that a lot physically with charitable donation, with, there are children who need clothing in different third world countries. But when do we do that with mentality? When do we sit there and think someone needs emotional support? I'm secure right now. How can I help someone else out there that I don't know with that support?
I'll tell you why that doesn't happen as often. Because when you look at the bell curve of people who know and they know that they know, there are very few people who have actually realized that they have the knowledge. The more what's that saying? The more I learn, the less I know. Most of those people are in that phase where they don't have the self-confidence and they don't think they are equipped yet.
Yeah. And granted, it's no one's responsibility. In life, you can go through and do whatever you'd like to do, but, for a moment to feel that goodness, to know that you're putting something out into the world selflessly, knowing that there's a chance you could get nothing back, and most likely that's the case of it, if not just self-fulfillment. But I don't know. How do we feel about people doing things because they feel they are going to get something back, even if something's small? Is the idea of doing something without expecting anything back dead? Is that still around? What do we think?
I don't think it exists.
No.
I think two things can be true at the same time.
That's true too.
Yeah, I agree with. I think two things can be true at the same time. Why do you think it doesn't exist?
Because no matter what you're doing, there's a human desire to fulfill something for yourself. Just because it's not a material need doesn't make it completely selfless, right? If you truly look at the definition of selflessness, I could be doing something for you, knowing that you cannot return the exact same thing for me, but I made time to do that thing is because I find it fulfilling, or it makes me feel like a better person, or maybe I was looking for a connection and this was the exchange of it. Okay. So in that sense, and I don't mean it in...
No, it's not a bad
thing.
I
don't mean it in a morbid way. What I want people, the whole point of self-actualization is to realize what is it that you truly seek and that you're trying to fulfill, and realize that the material things you have are a means to fulfill that, right? If you're in the world, you're obviously going to consume something. You need money. That's the basic bartering system. But when you have that realization that you have needs, just because they are not material needs or not as many, doesn't make you a lesser human. I think that's when you're truly able to practice empathy. and to have that, holistic human experience.
No, that's very well said. I think that there is a stigma against, because you're looking for something that is inherently bad. Like, oh, you're only doing this because you'll feel good about yourself. Okay. And
So
you're still helping somebody, and it's okay to feel good about that.
it did benefit the other person, or they did feel happy about it, right?
Yeah.
So what's wrong with mutual pleasure?
There's a culture about not being able to do things for oneself, and it's often seen as greedy or guilty or I don't know. But you're right. It is true, and I think Pat said like two things can be true at the same time. But we do things at the very least to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. But if it's for good purpose and we deserve that happiness too, then it's all good. So it seems like these forums are great ways to connect, especially anonymously. But forgive me if we've talked about this already. Why do we feel that we know why people do things anonymously for bad reasons, but what do we think the benefit or the purpose for good?
That always, I don't understand if they get on there to be bad, or in their mind, are they just expressing themselves?
That's true too.
I don't know, because I'm not on social media as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like a couple of things could be true there as well. I think it depends on the individual. It depends on their motive. Some people, if they're doing something bad, they would want the anonymity to avoid getting caught. Or, in the case of some trolls, it's possible that they're just saying stuff they don't actually think. They're just saying it because they know it'll get a rise out of people. And, I mean, ultimately what it comes back around to protecting themselves.
But so that's why I posed the question too. On the other half, what do we think the purpose and or benefits are to doing things anonymously for better, for good?
I mean, it depends on the situation. Like talking on a mental health forum, that's really private information you're putting out there. So privacy, I think, is a big one. That's the main one that comes to mind for me anyway. But that's a good question. What are some of the other ones?
What about the other social media platforms like Facebook, where you can't actually be anonymous?
Well, technically now you can, actually. There's a new feature on Facebook for groups. You can post anonymously and comment anonymously. But
groups has been there, but there's still traceability there. And, but I feel like platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they are more anonymous because you could be an entity. You don't have to be a human.
Yeah.
So has anyone had any experiences there? I know there's a lot of trolling there, but...
I just had a completely side tangent thing that I thought of. This is just, it made me laugh, but also I think this sketch just gets to such an interesting idea of like digitally communicating with someone. But did you see the Key and Peele sketch where they're texting with each other?
Oh, yes!
I haven't seen
So
that
he
one.
just says like, oh, whatever, I don't care.
That's
And the other
so
guy
good.
reads it and he goes, whatever, I don't care?
Oh,
The
that
tone.
one,
It's
yes.
When you're
he's
missing the
upset
tone.
that- yeah. And it's just like, oh, yeah, there's two things that happen. There's the person conveying information, and then there's how it's received on the other person. And when you're missing things like
Right.
voice tone, body
Yes.
language, and context, it's
this generation's version of the
its
ellipses.
communication is less and less and is a bit more
Right.
and more and more distant. It's like a radio signal with a bunch of static, kind of.
It's like I love this example all the time. It's a generational switch between the use of ellipses, ... Now, let's say I sent you a text, Pat, and it says, you said, hey, Faith, do you mind just coming downstairs and covering the front for a second? And I write, okay, ... What's your impression of that? Like, what's my mood? What would okay, ... mean to you?
That you don't understand.
Okay, so see, exactly. So it's either you don't understand, or for me, if that were said to me, I'd go, oh my God, someone's really mad at me. Oh my God, I'm sorry, never mind, I got the front. But I guess with older generations, ... the ellipses is not seen as a confusing or hostile.
Yeah, I had that conversation with my dad because my uncle added to a text thing, and I forget what it was, but ... And I was like, oh, that's ominous.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, why? Like, no, it's not. And
No.
he was like, no,
Same
it
with
just
me.
means like etc. Like that's how my
Really?
dad thought of it, and I explained how I meant it, and he said, oh yeah, that must be a generational thing because I wasn't aware of that.
It is, but
if I see ... to me it is this person is half-assing it, or they're kind of ticked off about it. Not exactly angry,
But like,
You know,
okay.
like capitals and exclamation is angry to me. Like, you know, now this person really can't hold it in.
Yeah, ellipsis is more passive aggressive.
But
Yeah.
but it's not for older generations, and that always intrigued me because the same thing with me. Like sometimes, like years ago, I was texting my mother, and she did like a ... and I went, "Whoa, what's going on?" She's like, "What do you mean what's going on? I'm just talking." And she said, "No, I'm just. It's like
Nobody just trails
extension."
off.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of funny stuff like that, though. Like how the term like making love, like
Yeah.
would be used in a way that does nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
What?
So there's this
Wait,
there
hold
was
on.
this song that this was funny because me and my friends were like 12
Do
years old.
elaborate.
I'm
This-
so curious about this.
It was some station that was playing some very old like folksy songs, and I was in the car with my friends, and my mom was driving us to like the beach or something. We were 12 years old, and we couldn't stop cracking up because the lyric in this very wholesome song with two couples, it's not meant to be like ironic or modern in any way, is we'll tell our kids about the love we made on the old porch swing.
Oh God.
But at that
see.
point in time,
Oh,
the term making love did not refer to sex. That meant like
What,
chastely,
holding
like
hands?
wooing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It meant like the first
What?
moment when you like timidly let somebody know that you like them and maybe hold their hand. Like that's what the phrase making love means. And so it's like there are various little moments sometimes in very old pieces of media that are hilarious because it's used in this way where it's like, oh wow, you can never be heard the same way again that it was when it was originally made.
No.
That's a riot. No, I
I
didn't
mean,
know that.
I would have thought grandma and grandpa were a riot, you know, on the porch. You know,
Son, let me tell you about the one time your grandmother and I.
not one time. When
not
you guys weren't around, that porch swing has seen a lot of action.
All right, there you go. I'm done. But no, I forgot where I went with ellipses.
Yeah, I'm
with
sorry.
this,
No, but I struggled with that.
No,
a
don't be
lot.
sorry. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
That was perfect. That was perfect. We all needed it after that start.
Oh God, yeah. But
I struggled with that a lot because, and I think Bobby said it too, right? He finds me acerbic.
acerbic. That's a big word.
Yeah, that's a huge word. Anyone who listens to me or can see my body language, that's not how they will see it. But if you were to just, chat with me, you'd be like, God, she's sassy.
Oh my God, who does she think she is?
Who does she think
But
she
I
is?
wonder if that's part
Royalty.
of the. No, but I wonder if that's part of the discrepancies of online chatting or writing, or somebody writing something and causing an argument, and that comes from insecurity. But I know there was a thing I had to say regarding anonymity. Hold on,
Anemones?
That's quite an onomatopoeic sound.
I was trying to. I said it perfectly earlier. Roll
Yes.
back the tapes, but anonymity.
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 Yes, that
Someone
thing.
spike my sweet green.
The thing where we don't know who's talking.
Yes,
that
thing. We That's what we're here for today.
Yeah.
But with social media accounts, something that I'm drawn to, because I am part of that generation where I remember a good chunk of my life without social media, but then also a part of me grew up with it as well, because it was kind of the birth of modern social media the way it is today. It's transitioning from, AIM chat rooms and everything to the MySpace generation to the Facebook to, I remember when Instagram was created, but one app I remember, and those of you out there who know this are going to go, it was called iFunny. I don't know if anybody
I
remembers
have
an
no
app called
idea.
iFunny.
No.
It's Instagram-esque in a manner of fact of only photos can be posted and people
So
can
Snapchat.
like it. It's Snapchat, but it's consistent. It stays up there. It's an endless scroll, but it's all memes. And the whole point of it was you're just posting memes. And I remember being there as kind of a silent observer, anonymously. There were a couple of bigger profiles. Like I remember there's one called "Done with Life Kermit," and it
Oh my
was
God.
the meme of it's a bad meme of Kermit. You can look it up on your own time. I'm not explaining it, but pretty much you think of these personalities in these sites, and I remember that "Done with Life Kermit" person actually like friended me on Snapchat or something. I went, wow. But then it really made me think of who is this person behind the memes. And that is probably the most Gen Z thing I've said all day. Who is this person behind the memes? I digress. But think about people who are out there on, Xbox Live, who are there through iFunny, who were part of this generation as kids and now adults anonymously. knowing people by that name. I don't know Done With Life Kermit's name. I can tell you 90% of the posts they made. I have no idea where they live. There's plenty of people I've made quote unquote friends with online growing up that I would hang out with virtually daily when I was 12, 13 that I don't even know.
So I have this thought, and I would love to hear from all of you. I think a lot of people rather prefer their online profiles because they can present a very edited version of themselves, and they can control the narrative of the person the other person is seeing and experiencing.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot. I think there definitely is a lot to that. It's easier to put out on social media what you want people to see about yourself or what you want people to perceive about you, which may not be the full picture of who you are. So yeah, I could see that.
It's edited for sure.
That reminds me of the my favorite RuPaul quote, which is, "You're born naked, the rest is drag."
Yeah,
yes,
it's true. It really is.
True.
What we are presenting right now is a version of drag, if you think about it, what we chose to wear today.
That is Hindu philosophy.
Are you saying that drag culture and Hindu philosophy have an overlap?
Because I'm saying everything has an overlap with Hindu philosophy because, or for that matter, the Native American aesthetics, because they were all inspired by nature. I'm not talking about what the religion has become now.
Yeah.
The philosophy and the basis of all of these ancient religions, right? It was aligned with nature.
Yeah.
And really, I do think in that sense it's true. And every job you hold, every social status you go through, it's just putting on more clothes or putting up different appearances.
Yeah. No, it's a very good way to put it. And I feel we can do that online with our presence, with what we post, how we choose to post it. We can delete anything at any time for the most part.
Anyone here had a Meta account? What was it called?
Facebook Meta?
Yeah. What was it called? Was it just Meta? Metaverse.
Metaverse. What was like an online?
I've never been totally sure what that refers to.
Yeah.
People became like multi-millionaires overnight, and now it's just gone. I couldn't even latch onto it before.
I hadn't even heard of this until now it's done, I guess.
What?
Yeah, what is that like?
I'm younger than you.
The company
We've swapped. Is that like is like Sims kind of?
Well, I mean, I remember the company officially changing its name to Meta, and there being a presentation that I didn't really watch that involved like these things that looked like little Miis from like the Wii.
Oh yeah.
And that there was supposedly going to be something that was like Facebook, but with the option of you have like your actual 3D polygonal person, and you're kind of interacting with other people, and I didn't understand what it was, or if it was a separate account than Facebook, or if it was just a different way of using your existing social media accounts that they all control.
Was very Polly Pocket-esque.
I remember I had Polly Pockets. It's like Club Penguin for adults. Is that what it is, really? Go to the pizza
I don't
parlor?
know how people made money, though. They created things that they then kind of, digitally signed. That's a very crude way of putting it.
Yeah.
But basically, that it was like original piece of art, and then
NFTs, yeah.
Yeah, the NFT. That's how people became rich on it. But
interesting.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no.
What's that art worth anymore?
I don't know. I've never really understood the way NFTs work, if I'm being honest. It's just a little way too much there.
I think NFTs perfectly encompass that very specific fourth grade person you knew who was very protective over things, where it's like, well, I have a red lollipop. Okay, but I also have a red lollipop. No, but my red lollipop is mine. And like, you can't have the one I have. That's what I feel like NFTs are, where it's, oh, I took a screenshot of this NFT, so I have it. And they're like, no, you don't. You don't have the actual coding for this specific one. It's mine. That's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it feels like to me. It's like
It also just seems like another way people can, like, screw people over. Is, you hear all the time, like, they go down in value, they go up in value. It just, I don't know. It's a risk, but it always just sounded really strange to me. Something I would not want to get involved with.
Online things are just strange in general, this virtual world we live in. But I think that The way we communicate is different. Looping back to the whole how you present yourself online, I have a dastardly trick that I'm going to teach you all that I do when I'm angry. So if I'm in an argument with somebody, yes. So I have 2 different ways of how I deal with arguments.
So when you send us a text with those ...
you know, you're like, oh, shoot, what did I say? No, but hear me out. And this is a modern way of dealing with problems. So if I'm upset with somebody, let's say, and I want to articulate my thoughts, what do? I write it down in text because I can phrase everything exactly how I want to. I can sit there and I can pick out specific words and details and make sure this person sees everything for how I truly feel, and you're collecting your thoughts. Great. If I'm really upset with somebody and I want their honest opinion, I call them because they don't have time to think about it. So that's what it's like if I'm upset with somebody and I want the truth, like I've been in a situation before where, a partner of mine was being dishonest. And so I called him and I said, no, we're going to talk this out right now. So you don't have time to think of your lies and make things up. But
a man who answers his phone.
It was a dream. I'm going to have to find one of those again. Oh, I'm swooning thinking about it. No, but there's a reason we broke up. Anyway, so point being, because of how we're able to present ourselves online, I think it was Pat who was saying, like, you can kind of pick and choose what people see. You can phrase how you want things to look. You can edit photos. You can change all of that. But what we forget is when you're right there in person, you can't do that. And so that's why things like phone calls are important, at least for me, when I want someone's raw honesty, which is like top tier quality for me. But we don't see that with anonymous chatting sites. People don't have to sit there and perfectly craft their stories. They're just authentically them. It's in the moment. I think you had said earlier, Avantika, about the idea of, what was the word you used? You said it was a very raw, unedited conversation. I think that's the word you used, was unedited.
Genuine, unedited.
But once again, that
candid.
Candid. It came from the heart, and there are mistakes. There's typos. There's things that maybe aren't articulated the way you meant them right away, but that's raw. And I wonder if that's something we're able to let our guard down with if someone doesn't know who we are, where my Instagram profile, which I almost just dropped my name on, like maybe I shouldn't, but my name is perfectly written. I have a witty caption. All my photos have hopefully witty captions as well.
Allegedly.
I giggle when I put it up. Like one time I put, a plateau is the highest form of flattery. And I thought that was funny.
What?
Isn't that funny?
No.
See, that's why I'm going to block that comment. I didn't hear that.
Well, you want raw honesty. There you go.
But see, that's why we do it. But see all the people who are like Avantika going, ugh. It's like, I don't have to hear that.
Is that the highest landform she knows?
Highest form of flattery.
Now I get it.
That's
really good.
Thank you. I didn't come up with it. See, okay, I just went on a roller coaster of emotions there. I'm like,
watching you figure that out in real time is really funny.
Because it's flattery. Highest form. A plateau is the highest form of flattery. I'm doing hand motions right now. Yes. You all can't see it, but Avantika can see it.
Yeah, because when you first said it, you did the hand motion for highest.
Oh, and you were hung up on highest, not flattery, but it's the highest form.
Yeah, I missed flattery.
Flattery. Oh, that's my eyes watering.
So that's why miming is important.
Yes.
Skill to learn.
And thank you to all of you listening to this podcast with no miming.
No miming, yes.
You'll have to envision it in your head, or somebody who does
those. Use your imagination.
Get one of those animators who listen to podcasts, just animate this section of my arms turning into snakes and noodles. And
they're probably thinking how stupid Avantika is. No. Who doesn't get that?
Is it your fault for not getting it? Or
did you get it? Now you will, of course. Why will you say no?
I just missed something. Something just went right by my head. I'm like, oh my God, I missed it.
No, I was asking him if he got it too, because he's just so quiet. And now he's like, of course I got it.
Yeah, Avantika, my God, you didn't get that? That's crazy, says Pat.
I had another random thought, too.
It is.
Which is, I think, and it's interesting to think about this in conversations like this, that self-consciousness, I guess not in terms of consciousness, but like in terms of the extent to which you worry or think about how you are presenting to the other world seems to me to be one of those human characteristics that is on a very large spectrum, where it's like everybody is self-conscious to some degree, and there's people who are pathologically almost impossible to function is socially because of that level of that. Whereas, and then there's another extreme where it's almost dangerously like complete and total lack of awareness or caring about how you are impacting other people.
Sociopath.
And it's interesting.
It's often used as a interchangeably with psychopath, which it should not be. But sociopaths, exactly, that is their deficit to sometimes their benefit, but a lot of times to no benefit of they just can't comprehend, how they're affecting others or themselves. But you're right, everybody has
it's
a
not
degree of
random.
subconsciousness.
It was a very necessary part of the conversation, and thank you for bringing it up.
Makes sense.
Which we will use during the conclusion. So please hold that thought. We'll come back to it.
All right.
But speaking of psychology, there was this interesting principle that I wanted to share with everyone. Is anyone familiar with the Rumpelstiltskin principle?
I'm not sure. Could you explain it?
I know Rumpelstiltskin, but not the principle that he has.
Yeah. So if you don't know the story, Google it. You can always pause the podcast. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but the principle is used in psychology and management and sports coaching as well. And basically it says that knowing or giving someone their true name gives you power over them. So whether if you have, say a friend or a partner who gives you nicknames, or like family that gives you nicknames, you form a special connection with them. Sports coaches who name call, right? Could be positive. Usually it's a negative connection. Or I, of all things, what popped into my head were all of these religious godmen, the gurus, who give you this new identity and this new name, and suddenly your past is all gone and you're starting a new life, and you see all these people just living in a haze. I believe it now because they're basically convinced now, right, that the identity itself has changed and somebody else has power over them just because they have a new name without actually realizing that that person has taken power over them.
Wow. I can actually, what's weird? I can speak to this. And for, sake of anonymity. Oh, I said it today.
Perfect.
There you go. Good job.
So for the podcast's sake, I'll keep it vague. But for those of you who know me in the room, I actually have changed my last name. Avantika, you probably don't know this.
I do not.
But we'll redact it in post. So Pat, or whoever's editing this, we're going to redact it. My current last name is Brody, but my last name used to be when I was a kid. So those will be censored out. Sorry, y'all. But I changed it when I was 17 simply because I felt more connected with it. It was a name that, my dad uses as like a stage name. I have both a stepfather and a father in my life prominently, along with my mother, my stepfather together. My dad is separated from my mom. But I chose that name because it matches no one's name, and I like it. So I switched it when I was 17. I went through, I got it changed. It wasn't like a marital thing. It wasn't like I had to. But let me tell you, there have been moments where I will assume my younger self with that different name is a different person. And there was kind of a change in that where I felt, I used to be really insecure about X, Y, and Z, or I used to do this. But I'm like, but that was the old me. And this is a new era. But I never really contextualized it until I'd been living with that name for a couple of years. I've had this name now for, 8 years now? 8-9 years. But you do look back on that. And you can think that when you have a different name, in a way that if you know someone who gives you a nickname, you think of yourself as a different person.
Yeah.
Is that close to what the Rumpelstiltskin?
It's a personal experience, right? And the whole form is that association of and surrendering something unique to that relationship, right? So for me, I have a different nickname with my family and friends from childhood. It makes me a completely different person. When I was in college, people would call me different name, right? Like everyone gives you a nickname. The moment you hear it, you think what you feel is feeling younger, but I think that's the first thing you realize and associate with it. But there's just so many undercurrents of you becoming a different person. Your accent changes, body language changes. You feel differently about your capabilities, right? Mentally, you feel you're invincible again. You're back into that, you're not living in that kind of... So at least for me, when I was in college, world was very black and white. That's usually the case for most people. And as you grow up, experience life, shades of gray start coming in. So I've noticed that when I'm called by that name or I am in that phase around the same people, at least for the first 15, 20 minutes, my opinions on things that I've experienced and seen are stronger and very impulsive. And then I kind of retract and then I'm like, no, but this, that, slowly it takes a bit for me to come back to my current person.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like, you ever smell a scent? Like for me, when I was a teenager, there's certain perfumes that I'd wear. Well, let's be real. There were body splashes from Victoria's Secret. I thought it was awesome. But if I smell that, you get a wave of nostalgia of like being young again, or things that you did, or, oh God, I wore Too Much of Night by Victoria's Secret perfume because I thought it made me smell hot. But you think of these things in the time, and maybe hearing that name is like a sniff of that perfume again.
Yeah.
It's realizing who you were then and comparative to who you are now. And online can do that too. I'm sure, for those of us who grew up in a generation of having a screen name, if you're called by your screen name somewhere, you're like, huh, and you just become a different person. You're like, wait a minute. These are different experiences.
But here's my question to all of you guys who grew up with screen names.
Yeah.
Were you conscious of the screen names you chose? And what was the most fun or relatable or, a screen name that you thought was just thoughtless? And as you connected with people, you heard their opinion of you, has been the one that's, struck a special chord. Isaac, we'll start with you and we'll go around the table.
That's an interesting one. I never really had too many... I never really had too many things, like accounts on which I would have had a screen name. I was never much of like a gamer or anything. I do remember there was a period of time where I had, I don't even remember what it was. It was before Google Messenger, but it was like around
AOL, was it?
Maybe it was AOL Messenger.
AIM, AOL.
Something like that.
The Pigeon was one of them.
I don't know Pigeon.
Yeah, I remember there was... I would use that to play games with my sister, even though she was in the next room. That's kind of how we...
That's just a LAN party.
That's a LAN party. It's a LAN party.
Oh, whatever.
That's
what we did. And I remember my name was Bat King Dracula.
I love that. That's so you. I'm only laughing because that's very you.
Yeah.
To date, knock on wood.
Yeah, and I just melded it together from like Batman, which I really liked Batman at the time. Lord of the Rings, I love Lord of the Rings. My favorite at the time was Return of the King, and then Dracula. I always really liked Dracula, the story of Dracula.
Haven't heard of that one. Is that a new thing?
Yes, it is. It actually, you should, it came right after Dr. Sleep.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so terrible.
This is when I say Americanize me. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, that actually was an inside joke, and that's going to take a while to explain, but Isaac and I know very well Dr. Sleep. You know what? Ask me about it for another podcast, and we'll tell you the Dr. Sleep and how I'm a horrible friend.
Yeah,
but anyway.
That's gone red. This has to be another podcast.
That's the teaser for next, so tune in next time, and you'll get the full detail.
Get the full detail of how Faith is horrible with her memory to the point where she's forgotten a person's existence beside her. Anyway.
It's okay.
Producer Pat.
I didn't really grow up with any kind of screen name.
So you were always just Pat?
Yeah.
That was very
short and sweet. I love it.
It was just,
I'm closer to your age, too.
So?
And I did not communicate, really. I did not use online communication really pretty much in any way, before I was any younger than 18.
So no gaming or...
No gaming, but that's just me and my N64 playing Mario, it's not gaming in the social sense. It's just literally you own the video game and you play it. Okay. And I never played video games online. That was just me and my friends trying to beat Ocarina of Time or the Wind Waker all together in one room kind of thing.
Cool.
I was definitely aware of it because by the time I was a teenager, there were people who played games online, but I both was not into it, and also I think that like it was definitely there as something that existed and was not unbelievably niche, but was nowhere near as just ubiquitous as it is now.
I'm kind of pleased about it because my experience is kind of generationally slightly different. Just because I spent my formative years in India. So that was refreshing to learn that, we have that in common.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm very much, I'm of a transitional generation in terms of like, I am young enough to have grown up with the internet and that the internet existed, but I am old enough to have not grown up with it being a major part of my life because when I was like 10 or 11 years old, the internet was very boring.
Dial up.
It was very slow.
You remember leaving your mouse there?
It was not geared towards kids. Like there weren't fun things on it, and it was not yet profitable to the extent where like companies were using that as their main way of advertising and making money. Right. So it was something that, if anything, I feel like the adults would talk about what an enormous big deal this was. Yeah. Like in this, you don't understand. And I was like, I don't get it. I'm going to go and play like Nintendo again.
How about you, Faith? Do you have any interesting screen names?
I do, because I'm right on that cusp where I recall actually being a little girl going on Webkins. I don't know if you all remember Webkins.
Oh, my little cousin would talk about that all the time, and I was like, what is that?
Oh, it was
And
great.
he had this voice to say, Webkins, Webkins. And he said it so fast. I'm like, what word is that? And he's acting like I should know exactly what it is. And I'm like, I can't even tell what you're saying.
Webkins. So it was really cool, and it had a nice quality back then. I think it's kind of hasn't aged well now because it's not as... You'll see what I mean. So you would buy a stuffed animal, or someone would buy it for you, and it would come with a tag with a code on it. And you go online, you upload that code, and you now have them as a virtual pet as well. I think that's kind of died off now because nowadays with Webkins, my understanding is you can just get a pet online. But it was fun to go to a store, pick it out, and then to watch it come to life. And I remember I was right in that age where that was around, but I would take the house phone, the landline, and call my best friend Alyssa on it, and we would play together while talking on the phone because there wasn't quite that connection yet of Skype or video call. Discord wasn't even around then. So that's how we did it. So I grew up quite literally during that transitional period of a lot of my formative younger years were spent on the landline, talking to my friend, coloring, and then slowly transitioning. Yeah. It was a different time to talk on the phone then, and then it's like, oh, I need the phone, I'm using it. But then to go into cell phones and then to transition into online gaming, and then someone thought, well, let's just merge it all together, and now we have ability to call and play online. But back to the original question of screen names, I was always one who would switch my screen name. There's some people who are like, this was my screen name since I was 7, and it's been the same into my 20s. I kept switching it a lot, except for one of them. And that was one that was on Roblox quite a bit. Roblox is like an online, it's a gaming
Basically
system.
Minecraft.
It's Minecraft, but you get to make buildings. You get to... there's some coding aspects to it as well, so you can make a plethora of different games on the site, which was fun. So there'd be one where it's like, you're in a city and you have to kind of run a town. And I remember I was always the DJ at the club, and then you'd go to school, and then you'd have a house to build. There's other ones, too, where you could, like, make dragons and fly around. So it was very versatile. But
more educational.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Within the realm of, like, gaming and online things, this is a very... From all I could see, very non-toxic kind of like cool.
Right.
Like, oh, if you're going to do it, that's cool because you're building things and constructing
It was great, but I made some friends on there, and one I can remember specifically is my screen name there had stayed consistent, and the original name's a little longer, but my nickname was Fio, F-I-O, and so that because it's a shortened version of the name that I had. And I did something during the pandemic where I had logged back onto Roblox. It had been years and years and years, but I actually received, I guess, a couple of other people were online as well during that dark time saying like, hey, are you still there? Hey, what's going on? And I realized that these are now adults.
Right.
And so what I've been doing kind of since then, since 2020, there's one friend of mine that I used to talk to, and I don't know him from, like, he could walk right by me and I would never know who he is. His name is Andy. And what I do every year now is I will send him a message with like a brief update as to what's going on. I'm like, hey, it's Theo, just about to finish my master's degree and going here. And I won't give details so he doesn't know who I am, but just basic things. I said, I hope you're doing well. And he's like, oh yeah, I went back to school and this and that. But every year checking in and seeing like hey, Theo, hey, Andy, you feel like a different person. Mm-hmm. And it's bizarre to think that there is somebody I know out there right now who has known me for 15 years, maybe longer, that I've never met. And through that screen name is how he knows me. So if he were to picture a conversation we've had, it's Theo. It's not me.
Right.
But I don't think I have any weird screen name stories, but I think it's more of...
Yeah, that's a very different life experience because I have never in my life had a person who I felt like I knew and, it's this person who is someone who I only communicated with online.
But the weird thing is I feel like I don't know him. But I've known him for so long, along with a couple of other friends that I had, but I don't know them. Like
but you have enough of a connection that word would just come out of your mouth.
Exactly.
This person I know,
Exactly. And that's, I don't know, it's kind of dissociative for me. It's a little jarring. It's like a split. It's kind of like, remember those games or that you go to at an arcade where you'd sit there and you're on a roller coaster and like they jumble the seat a bit and you're looking at a roller coaster? So it feels like you're on a roller coaster, but you're not really. That's what I feel like with a screen name. It's like you're there,
like a
but it's
simulated
not you.
Experience, kind of.
Yeah,
which is exactly what it is. Yeah. But the thing is that there's a reason why simulations have a place in our society now, because what you experience is real.
It is, and that's why I always caution, because I work with the kids here. I caution how serious it is, because it's fun in games if you're just playing online a game with somebody, but those are real people. Those are people with motives. Those are people who sometimes don't have good intentions, but that's why it's good to treat everything as if it's real, because even if it doesn't feel that way, look, there's another person on the other end of that screen that's typing to me right now, although I will never meet this person unless by some happenstance of divine intervention, lightning bolt, and just randomly appears.
Hey, you never know.
That's true.
You never know how life works, but
it's just weird to think about, though. But yeah.
So I'm going to conclude our discussion on anonymity with the thought that if you can engage with only what feels good, what feels right, and always do good, because you don't know how the other person's day is going, and what you experience is 100% real, even though you're behind a screen name, emotionally and mentally, what you do experience is real. So please do the right thing for other people. And if you can, spread a smile.
Yeah.
Spread a smile.
Yeah.
I think that's a good tagline for the end of the podcast. Yes. Spread a smile.